My name is Anuj. I am the founder CEO of Gradient Advisors. We have been extremely lucky to be doing AI for last 15 years. We have done this, and today we work as an advisor to multiple startups and MNCs across US, Europe, and India. We are at the cusp, and I'm sure all of you have heard of AI being a revolutionary technology, right? But but along with AI comes a lot of fears, and I thought this is a great time for us to address some of the challenges we will face and some of the fears that have been instilled, which actually might not be very true as well. One of the biggest positives or one of the biggest potentials that this technology brings to the table is its ability to get to a state what is called as AGI or artificial general intelligence. While I think we are still good 5 to 7 years away from something like that, but all the traditional software that we have written, any of us for last 35 years, has two fundamental aspects to it. One is that these are deterministic softwares. What is a deterministic software? It means that once you freeze the system and the input, the output value is also frozen at that point of time. What that value will be, it will be output of the competition. Unlike AI, so all the AI that has been developed in last, I would say 70 years, and that itself comes as a lot of surprise to a lot of people that AI is not something new. AI actually has been around since 1950s. As a matter of fact, some of the most foundational development in AI happened in 1956. It was a conference at Dartmouth in US. But all the software that we write in the form of rules, right? If this, then do this. If that, then do that. How do you write software when it is not possible to arrive or write a set of rules that can handle all kind of inputs, right? This is where the whole idea of AI actually comes from, whereby can we write a software where if I give you a lot of data as input, can you figure out from it the rules on your own, right? And that is what is game changing in this entire technology, right? Today, it is possible to do things that earlier would take a couple of PhDs. So I don't know how many of you have tried, but Meta released a bunch of models which are called segment anything, right? What is segment? Segment is basically if I take any object, I want to color all the aspects of that object so that I can identify it differently. So I am standing in front of the background. If every part of my body is colored with, say, green, then that is called segmentation of the object, right? Back in 2007, I remember when I was doing my master's at IIIT Hyderabad, there was a gentleman that was doing his PhD, which was an attempt to improve segmentation by 3%, right? And this person did an excellent job, went on to win a Microsoft's PhD award for his work. Today we have gone to a point where any of us can do segmentation under 2 minutes. So this is the kind of advancement that the technology has seen in a massive way. Comes the big question, is AI gonna take away the jobs, right? That is what a lot of people fear about, and I thought that's a question we should address. AI is gonna be one of the most disruptive technologies we'll see in our journey. It is very similar to what electricity would have done in 1800s, back in the day when it came in, right? Will it take away jobs? I would say no. Will it transform jobs? I would say yes. Possibly every single job will be impacted by AI. Now, what does that mean? It means that we will have more and more tools that will be our disposal. Just like today we work with extensive amount of software, we'll have more and more AI tools that all of us will use on our daily basis. And what will distinguish one from the other is somebody who is very comfortable in using these tools as opposed to not using these tools. How is these tools going to be any different? So, how many of you have used ChatGPT? Anybody in the room who has not used it? Okay. How many of you have seen a very interesting phenomena in ChatGPT that if I ask the same question at different times of the day, you actually get different answers? How many of you have seen this phenomena that if I ask the question in the morning, I get one answer. If I ask the question in evening, I get a slightly different or a drastically different answer, right? This is known as the stochastic nature of the software, right? The biggest problem that the world today is facing is that the world has written a lot of deterministic software for last 35, 40 years. We have gone to a point whereby a large part of any application a V0 can be developed within a week to 10 days, right? And fairly, I would say, deployment ready. The problem with the AI is that we don't know how to deal with stochastic softwares, how to write stochastic software, right? And what you're going to see in next 3 to 5 years is that the playbooks of how stochastic softwares are to be developed will be rewritten, right? Today, we don't have that playbook available. The second aspect of what's going to be changing is the economics of this whole piece. Today, AI comes at a very high cost, right? Because of which you cannot apply it to anywhere and everywhere. You need to be extremely careful what use case are you attacking. So are you solving the right problem? Do you have the right amount of data for it? More importantly, do you have the right amount of compute for it, right? And this, because of these three factors, the way AI systems are being developed is going to be extremely different, right? So this is something we all have to understand, right? And how it's going to impact, I will give you a flavor, right? How do we test software? So imagine we have built a calculator. You write a lot of test cases for it. So 3 plus 5 is 8. Somebody has written this test case. You will input this value. You will test against the output, right? If the output does not match the desired output, it's called a bug, right? Now in AI, it is very much possible that every time you give the same input, it actually gives a different output, right? We have already seen, like I asked with the ChatGPT. So how do you test softwares which have a stochastic nature, right? So all those playbooks are being yet to be developed. We are at a very early stage of it. What is very different from this time as opposed to, I would say, the software revolution that happened good 40 years ago, is that today, because of this entire game of startups, we see some of the largest companies being involved, the time in which it is developed and the time to which it is put out in the market has become extremely short. So today, if OpenAI makes some change or if releasing something today, it's going to be available in the market tomorrow morning, right? Back in the day when Bell Labs used to develop something, by the time people will come to know, general people will come to know, this will be easily 5 to 10 years. This time has squeezed, because of which the entire dynamics has changed, right? There is a lot of things that are yet to be figured out. For example, if you are doing very high-end computes, which require a lot of GPUs, then the kind of energy or the kind of heat that these systems can release is of massive amounts, right? We are yet to figure out how are we going to handle all these things. But in a nutshell, what we are looking at is there are going to be two technologies that's going to change, I would say, the way all of us live. One is AI, which we are already dealing with in some sense. The other is going to be quantum. another thing that's going to come out, I think, in next 2 to 3 years, right? And both these are fundamentally different because they challenge the very notion of deterministic computation that we have known so far, right? So your only choice today is that you have to start adopting this as early as you can. However, when you're doing that, please keep very realistic expectations, right? So it's not that it's going to do its magic today, right? I think we are still good 3 to 5 years away from it. But the point I'm trying to make is that it is like uh, trekking onto the Mount Everest. You can't do it in one day. You have to start the journey very, very early. The sooner you start, the biggest the advantage you're going to have, right? And this is going to have change to all of us. If you are an engineer who is still in a college, I would strongly suggest more than coding, start learning mathematics. The kind of computing that is coming up, which is both AI and quantum, you need to know your maths far more than your programming, right? If you are a traditional IT employee, understand that these are fundamental paradigm shifts. So if you want to learn quantum, you need to know linear algebra inside out. If you really want to learn AI, you need to learn your probability and your optimization extremely well, right? So the more maths you study, the better the chances are going to be if you are an engineer. If you are a leader, understand the sooner you start tinkering with this, the more you will realize that the earlier you start, the better it is, right? It is not one of those technologies where you can just plug and play. So the example that I give to all the founders and CXOs that I work with is, if you take a Maruti car and you put a jet engine, it will not become a Ferrari. If you want to build a Ferrari, you'll have to reinvent the entire chassis. You'll have to reinvent every aspect of that car from scratch. But the only way you can be ahead of the curve is by starting early. But remember, next 3 to 5 years are going to be extremely experimental. A large part of the projects will actually fail. They will not deliver the outcome you're hoping for. But the sooner you can start, the better you will be. And if you look at all the Gen AI hype cycle that is there right now, right? And I'm sure some of you would have already read these articles, right? The bubble has already started to burst, right? But does it mean that these technologies are not worth? Absolutely not, right? They are so powerful in their possibilities that these are not just the top VCs, the startups, the corporations, the countries themselves are involved. The biggest battle right now fought among countries is for the NVIDIA GPU chips. The countries that have it have far superior advantage over the countries that don't have it, right? So that will be my two piece of advice to all of you. If you are a student, the more maths you can study, the better it is. If you are a leader, start early, but be very, very clear in your mind that large part of those projects are going to fail, because next 2, 3, 5 years is going to be the learning curve. But if you don't even start now and you say, let us wait till everything settles down, it actually might be far too late for you and your organization. I hope that message helps to everyone. Any questions anybody has? Happy to take them up. No? Sorry, please.
Okay, being a developer from a development background, since you mentioned coding, right? So where should I start? I mean, I have seen a lot of models from different companies, like from OpenAI, from Llama, from Facebook, Meta. Where do I start?
See, again, you'll have to do a two-pronged approach, right? One is where you start tinkering with these models, you start developing the applications, because the closer you are to the application, the closer you are to the ROI. But at the same time, as a developer, you also, at some point of time, will have to start going and understanding behind the scenes what actually happens, right? Because unless you understand that, right, uh, you will still be largely be operating with a black box, right? And we all know that is not a good approach. Now, what model to begin with? These models will keep on changing by the day. If I name a model now, I can give you in writing, maybe 12 hours later, another model would have come up, right?
Correct.
But it is very similar to driving a car. How do you learn to drive a car? Are you really bothered what kind of an engine are you using? Not really, right? As long as you know how to operate a car, that is a good enough as a starting point.
Yep. Okay. My point is like, let's take example like GitHub.
Sorry, can you keep the mic closer?
GitHub has opened a new OpenAI tool that's called Copilot, right?
Yeah.
That's helped developers to write code. A simple example. Now, that is where it is kind of saturated now, right? And there is no other big company coming in that space where they develop a model which is trained on code, right? And every model has a specific set of, what do you call, rule definitions. Like if you see ChatGPT, right? It's a trained on data which is like 4 years back, correct? So what is your thought or approach going forward, like let's say 5 years from now, where it will impact, rural area of India? Like, for example, if a person sitting in a village, how it will impact that? How it will go in that? Hope you understand.
Yeah, yeah. So, see, couple of things. One, that whole point of autopilot, it's going to go only further and further, right? So today, if you think from a founder's point of view, one of the fundamental difficulties founders face is putting together a good engineering team, right? And because of the talent shortage, often they have to put up with things that they ideally would like to avoid. Now, what Copilot is actually opening up is a possibility, right? Where at least for the early versions, maybe of the software, you may not even require humans. And you will only see more and more companies coming in, right? I can give you in writing, Microsoft, Satya Nadella is going to pour every single ounce of their resource into that whole piece because of the very possibility. And I can give you an example, right? It has already happened in the AI space. So earlier, why ChatGPT is a fundamental tactical shift in the AI landscape, it's not because of it can answer questions and all that. But if you think carefully, what has happened is that earlier, if any team had to create an AI system, even to demo, just for a demo purpose, I needed a full-fledged AI team to be there. I needed a scientist, I needed an analyst, I needed somebody who is on the AI ops side. What has ChatGPT done is that today, using some of these open source models or using some of these APIs, you can actually create a V0. A very smart business leader and a very smart product leader can get together, create a V0 of any AI system for the demo purpose without actually having an AI team involved in it. A lot of AI teams, a lot of AI leaders don't like this at all, right? Because now there is a part of the journey where they are actually not required, right? So this will has already started to happen. And the kind of possibility it opens up, there will always be a bunch of crazy people, a bunch of crazy entrepreneurs, a bunch of crazy VCs who are gonna pour all the resources they have until they either solve it or they get to a point that the current technology will not lead any further. So that's one part of it, right? What was the second question you had asked? So,
Thank you for your nice discussion. And my name is Srinivas Murthy. I'm having a small doubt regarding I am a IT security professional. Based on this topic, what I'm thinking is, in the panel discussion also, one of the panel person also discussed about the IT security controls. Nowadays there are way to generate to protect any device. we are using at least 30, 40 IT security devices which controlling the security part. Each device is generating huge number of parameters. Now, what is the present role of artificial intelligence, of developing an artificial intelligence tools to protect the IT security environment or IT security infrastructure?
Sure.
Is there any suitable particular tools for this? Why I am asking is, previously I was working on AI in the mineral identification using artificial intelligence. I have done a small project long back. So based on that topic, I am just asking, is there any suitable tool for this? Or what is the present status of IT security implementation using artificial intelligence?
So see, first you have to understand why the field of information security is hard. In general, because in order to secure something, you have to close every every possibility. But in order to crack it, you need just one line of attack, and it could be from anywhere in any of the form, right? I think where we're gonna get to a point is that AI is first gonna cause lot of disruption. Why? So ultimately, if you look deep down, what is AI? AI is basically a branch of pattern recognition, right? You look at lots of data and you try and figure out a fundamental pattern out of it, right? I think we're gonna get to a point where AI tools will be far more used by the wrong set of people to actually make entry into a lot of these softwares and actually show those vulnerabilities, right? Typically, if you look at any technology, you'll interestingly find that it's often the wrong set of people who are their early adopters. You look at any place, even if you look at this high definition video, it actually came from the world what is known as syntech and not from the normal side of it, right? As those attacks are going to increase, that is where the other side is going to get more active, which is again the idea would be to use, understand the patterns of attack, then to come up with the ways to block them. So in my humble opinion, I think it's going to go through a fairly rough patch in next 3 to 5 years.